Hey guys, Dave here from Wolf in the Wild Survival, episode 6 of Bugging Out. As you can tell by the title that you've already read, this is about hunting and self-defense implements, tools for hunting and self-defense. I'm doing the video together because, for obvious reasons, a lot of these tools are interchangeable, and it might make for a longer video slightly, but we'll get it all done in one shebang. So, everybody likes their guns. That is almost universal. Everybody's always saying, guns, guns, guns. Do your rifles and your handguns, and always, EDC or this or that or whatever. Well, I live in Canada. In Canada, we've got some pretty stringent gun laws. So, it's not always possible. It's not always feasible to do that. Also, I don't know how to make a bullet. I really don't. I understand the process. I know the chemical compounds for, making gunpowder or whatever, but to reliably make a bullet, I have no idea. I really don't. Bullets are heavy, generally, a lot of them, and you're going to run out. That's not a matter of opinion, that's a fact. You're going to run out. Why not a crossbow? I have in this will go on my belt when I'm ready to use it. Look. There's the bolts. I have 15 in this thing, and I've got room for at least 10 more, maybe 20. So, and it doesn't weigh nothing. It's very, very light. Now this is more of a critter getter. You're not getting anything really large with this, but this will feed you. And presuming I can find the bolts, I can reuse them. Now, some of the larger crossbows will take, your larger game. But, they can be fairly expensive too, so that is a major purchase. Something like this here, it was a little over $100. It's 45-pound draw, and it's from Bolt Crossbows. It's not incredibly high-end, super expensive, anything. It's just it's a cheaper one, but it will do the job. I can get raccoons, rabbits, ducks and geese, things of that nature. Right? Now, with a little bit of skill, that's going to get you your bear, that's going to get you your deer, that's going to get you a lot of food, your large food items. And this is one of the higher end ones. This is, what was it, 195 pound draw? So that will definitely get you a deer. That's more than enough. So that's your projectile weapons, bows, crossbows, where you can reuse ammunition, probably. And with a small amount of skill, you can make reasonable facsimiles of the bolts and the arrows that will be just fine. Now, for keeping into the ranged weapon kind of idea, spears. Spears can be thrown, and it takes a bit of skill to be able to throw one and get it to go where you want it. But, like anything, skill is earned, not given. Not bought, not you have to earn the skills that you have, so you're going to need to practice. Now, this is a relatively small, I think it's classified as a boar spear, I think is what they call it. But that will get you food if you're capable. Also, a longer spear. This is probably closer to what people think of when you say spear. And spears are some of the easiest weapons in the world to produce. You can make one with very marginal amount of skill. Now, mind you, it might not have a metal head. Certainly not necessarily like this one. But, nevertheless, you could use this in a self-defense in that I can keep somebody well away from me using something like this. Also, in the event that I need to, there's a little pin that generally gets put in here. You pull that pin, and now I have a large knife or a small sword, and that definitely gives you some versatility. You can throw this, but you're going to need some strength to get it any real distance. This is a pretty hefty spear. This is really more of a self-defense sort of implement of war. Now, the way that I just removed the head from that spear, this is a hammerhead. With a pick end. So, it's a lot easier to transport something like this around and just carve a handle. The size of the handle would really depend on what you're using it for. If you had, if you had a short handle, that's for pounding stakes into the ground, digging little holes, whatever. If you had a longer handle, that's a warhammer with a pick end. So this is semi-lethal, very lethal, depending on your needs. Same sort of idea goes with this gig. Much easier to transport around when you don't have the handle. You get to where you're going, you make the handle, whatever length you need it, and you are getting fish, turtles, frogs, or you are keeping people away from you. So that's not going to take up a whole lot of space in a bug out bag. Food, tool, and defense. Probably not hunting. Okay. What's next? Let's do staves next. Okay. A short staff, 3 to 4 feet, is... It's not going to get you food necessarily. But if you learn how to fight with something like this, you can defend yourself. And it makes a pretty good walking stick. Full-length staff, also called the quarterstaff. And actually, you know what? Before anybody comes on and starts, oh, that's called this or that's called that, there's a bunch of different names in a bunch of different cultures for the same general things, and for the purposes of this video, we could say it's a 6-foot stick. It doesn't matter. This is a 4-foot stick, this is a 6-foot stick. It doesn't matter that, this would be like a hand bow and this would be a whatever. It really doesn't matter. So, the actual name of it doesn't really matter. Okay, so, back to the quarterstaff. Once again, I can keep somebody away from me relatively good. I can also put one of my spear ends on here, or the frog gig, or whatever, and I could utilize it as more of a spear, or, a fork, or whatever. And with some practice and some instruction, you could make a very effective weapon out of this. Now, mine, on the other hand, well, they're all mine, but the one that I like, this is made ahead of time. What's different about it? Metal shod on each end. That means when I start swinging this around and it hits somebody, it's going to hurt. Is it going to be lethal? That depends on where I hit him. But even if I just give him a bit of a love tap, he's going to know that I mean business. He's probably going to leave me alone. One would hope. Okay, moving on. It's going faster than I thought. So that's your projectiles, and that is your stick and pole type weapons. So, bring you up for a little bit. So, got that light bulb shining right in your face, guys. Let's... Now that's a little bit better. Okay, now. A lot of what I just showed you here, that's purely self-defense, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be sitting around and I'm going to have that stick sitting beside me and a raccoon's going to come into my campsite and try to take something of mine, And I just casually grab my stick, whack him in the head. I got food. So, hey, it could happen. Okay. On to the more lethal hunting and self-defense options. You always have your knife. Not a lot of people go into the bush and have their belt knife and take this off of their belt unless they're sleeping. And even if they're sleeping, they usually have it nearby. So your bush knife is probably going to be your first self-defense kind of thing in a lot of cases. However, with enough practice, preparation, forward thinking, there are things that you can get and learn how to use that is going to more or less give you an edge in a lot of cases. For my younger viewers, and some of my less responsible adult viewers, like myself, I have to say this. It's important for me to let you guys know. The things that I'm about to show you are to be respected. Okay? The minute you lose respect, it kills you. Alright? That's what my teacher taught me, and he was definitely right. So, okay. Alright, so, just so we're clear, maintain a healthy respect for everything that I'm going to show you. Alright? If you go out and you get any of these, learn how to use them. Don't be foolish. Come on. Get up here. She was feeling left out. Stay. Alright. So, can you see her there? That's Brooklyn. I'm sure a lot of you might remember Brooklyn. She's been a few. Yeah, right, sweetheart. Yeah, right. Oh, I know. Okay, back to the video. Mwah. This is a katana. Can also be called a bastard sword, or a hand and a half sword. There are different variations of this weapon across many cultures. Probably one of the more dangerous things that you're going to find are swords. I can't tell you how many people I know have been playing around with something like this and injured themselves in some pretty grievous ways. So this is traditionally made high carbon steel. This is razor sharp. This is definitely not a toy. But in a fight with one of these, bring a gun. Right, that's all I'm going to tell you. Bring a gun. One of the things that I like about this that you don't get in swords made in other cultures is it's an Ayajutsu technique. What that is your sheathed sword on your side. With some instruction, some practice, you will learn to draw and strike in one fluid motion very quickly that will take 1 second or less. That's why I've chosen the Japanese one. There are many, many good swords from many, many good cultures across the world. I'm kind of partial to the Iajutsu draw strike kind of thing at the beginning of any engagement. So I have chosen the Japanese one primarily for that. The notion that all other weapons are inferior to Japanese weapons is mostly a false notion. So now, another Japanese weapon, similar to the katana. This is a ninja ken. Once again, high carbon steel. I believe this one was also handmade. It's a shorter blade, meaning it can be used in closer quarters, tight spaces. It is also generally meant to be used in a reverse grip. So it is a straight blade rather than a curved. But other than that, it is similar to the katana. And naturally, you have to learn how to use that implement in the way that it was meant to be used. Now, for a lot of you people who aren't necessarily into the Japanese style weapons or whatever, this is a pretty good example of an arming sword. Now, this is an Uthbert. Once again, high carbon steel. I don't believe this one was handmade, but still a very, very good weapon. It is double-edged, sharpened on both sides of the blade, whereas the other two that I just showed you sharpened on one side of the blade. Every weapon has 13 principles of combat. The 13 principles for this sword is completely different from the other two. And the 13 principles for each one is different from those as well. This is why you need to learn how to use the tools that you have properly, effectively, generally from somebody who knows how to use this. And even still, you have to practice. Practice makes perfect. So, a English longsword, similar to this. Most Viking swords, similar to this. Most Roman swords, similar to this. Double-edged, generally one hand, and wielded a lot of the time with a shield or a buckler, which is also handy in a fight. I don't use shields or bucklers, so never learned how. I'm both-handed, ambidextrous, so I will generally fight with a weapon in each hand. Now, being ambidextrous, I actually prefer my weapons to be the same size. For most people who are not ambidextrous, they would fight with a smaller weapon in their offhand and a regular weapon in their primary hand. And they would learn how to do certain katas and, you know, whatever, without tying himself up with a longer weapon in there offhand. So I don't have to worry about that. What are you doing? But something like this, although probably not very useful in gathering food, something like this might help you with processing food. You never know. So you got something like that there. Shorter weapons. Yep. Tomahawk. Almost everybody has a tomahawk in their bug out bag or, you know, kind of whatever. Most people seem to, I'm not really big on these. Most people love tomahawks. I'm not huge. This one's decorative, obviously. You know, I don't take this into the bush. It just, I saw it, I liked it, and, you know, it hangs on my wall, along with everything else that I've showed you, to be honest. But, you know, I've seen people throw these with amazing accuracy. You can get food with something like that. You can also defend yourself very effectively with a tomahawk. Now, for those of us who maybe, you know, we don't have a tomahawk, most of us will carry an axe. Many cultures used axes as weapons, including my own, the Vikings. This is a very potent weapon as well as a tool. So, geez, I didn't clean that the last time I used it. Yeah. Do I gotta clean that up? Yikes. And sharpen it, actually. Axes have always been a very, very effective weapon. And you're usually carrying it because it's your wood gathering tool, which helps you to get fire, which is also important. So, learning how to use an axe is relatively easy. It's probably part of the reason why it was such a popular weapon. It's very easy to learn how to use. If you can chop a tree, you can chop a person. And for the most part, while you're using it as a weapon, you have to get past some of the fancy moves that a lot of people tend to do in movies and whatever, and remember, it's downward strikes. Other than that, I mean, you know, there's obviously some skill to it, but you can learn how to make that into a very effective weapon. Now, also bear in mind, weapons don't necessarily have to be lethal. Okay, this can be a very effective deterrent. My swords, anything that I just showed you or will show you can be a very effective deterrent to stop somebody from trying to attack you or take your stuff or whatever. All you have to do is display the ability to defend yourself, and a lot of the time that's going to be enough. So don't get me wrong, I'm not necessarily talking about killing or maiming somebody. A simple display of skill and willingness generally will be enough. Okay. That. And okay, I think the last but not least, I think I got everything. Okay, so we're back to the Oriental, you know, Japanese kind of side. not only are they exotic and flashy, meaning it could be a very effective deterrent, they're also relatively easy to learn, easier to master than a lot of things, and a lot more useful than you would think. Because if I'm done fighting with somebody, they become a food gathering implement as well. You could do that. You could. You'd also just sharpen the end. It'll probably be close to the same thing. And you can actually barb the end here, where this is obviously doesn't have barb. But tie it like that. Now you can reach up into trees and hook fruit. Pull the branches down to gather the fruit, or just strip the fruit right off the branch and pick it up off the ground. And just a little bit of cordage will allow you to do that. So these shouldn't be sold short. There's also, I don't actually have yet, similar to this, but it's only got one prong, so like the one's missing, and it's called a jute or a jite or something like that. Which, either way, one way or the other. So, all in all, bolts and arrows can be reused, bullets can't. Knowledge is always power, and learning a new skill set can be rewarding. It really gives you, a good feeling when you master something. So as far as, some of you preppers, bug out type people go, why not learn a weapon? You don't have to learn a whole bunch, just learn one really well. And in a situation where you are bugged out or survival or whatever, you can get your food, you can defend yourself from hostiles, even if that hostile might be a large animal that you don't particularly want to tangle with. Because once you run out of bullets, you are going to need some way to defend yourself. Not just from people, but wolves, cougars, bears. If you're fast enough and if you're skilled enough, maybe you're not going to kill a bear, maybe. You're going to make it think twice. And a deterrent is better than being killed and eaten. And personally, if I have to use that, I have to, and I will. If I can get to this rather than this, my chances of survival just went up. So there you have it, guys. Just a happy little video about unhappy circumstances, but you know what? In some cases, it might be necessary. So something to think about. Just putting it out there, giving you guys something to think about. yeah, I think that's it. That's about that. So you guys have a good one, and I will see you in the next video.